Hello, welcome to our assembly for today. It's Friday. It's not, is it? No, it's actually Thursday today, but this is Friday's assembly. But we're recording this together, and I've got a fantastic reader here with me who's come to share some really, really cool work and ended up doing part of my assembly for me, which is really good. Now, today in our assembly, we're going to be talking about global goal number 9, industry, innovation and infrastructure. And we're going to read a bit of a book between us, aren't we? Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay. So let's share my screen. And the book that we've got is a really cool story. What's it called?
The Red Bicycle.
The Red Bicycle. Okay. And first bit, I'll let you pull yourself up to the screen. Can you see clearly enough?
Yeah.
Lovely loud voice.
Leo wipes the sweat off his brow. It's a hot day and he's almost finished mowing the neighbor's lawn. Today he will meet his goal. He will have earned enough money to buy a new bicycle for 2 years. Leo has watched his money grow. Each time a neighbor paid him for mowing a lawn, raking leaves, or shoveling snow, he would take his money to the bank. Then he would stop at the bike shop across the street to visit his bicycle. It has 18 gears and a suspension fork and is painted bright red. Leo finishes mowing and collects his pay, then runs to the bank. There he withdraws the money for his bicycle. He hurries to the bike shop and watches while the owner counts the money. "Congratulations, Leo," she says. She knows how much he has wanted this bicycle. Leo names the bicycle Big Red. He rides Big Red to school. He rides it to the swimming pool. He rides it to soccer practice. Leo rides Big Red everywhere.
Fantastic. Great reading. Thank you. Right. I am just going to stop the recording. Wasn't it great to have somebody else reading to you today? That's really, really lovely. It's nice to have somebody else sharing that good book. And it might be one of you who's sharing the next one. Who knows? So, a little bit later on in the story, Leo's getting older and he's growing. He grows so tall one summer that his knees hit Big Red's handlebars. It's time for a new bike. But Leo loves Big Red. Even though the bike's a few years old, he's taken good care of it, and Big Red almost looks brand new. He wheels Big Red into his garage, feeling a little sad. He walks to school, thinking about what to do with the bike. Leo wants to give Big Red to someone who will love the bicycle as much as he does, but everyone he knows already owns a bike. So after school, Leo walks to the bike shop. The owner asks where Big Red is, and Leo explains he's outgrown the bike. He needs a bigger bike, he says, and a new home for Big Red. "I've got an idea for you," she says, pointing to a poster. "Wanted used bicycles." An organisation in town is collecting bikes. They send the bikes to a faraway country to people who can't afford a bicycle, but need one for transportation. And right there, Leo decides to donate Big Red. It will have a new home where it's really needed. Leo wants Big Red to look its best for its trip. He washes the frame till it gleams. He oils the chain. He puts on new hand grips. His dad takes a photo of Leo working on Big Red. And when he's finished, Leo hops on the too small bicycle and rides to the shipping container where Big Red will start its new journey. This is the pair's last ride together. The shipping container is surrounded by bikes and by people there to help out. One man demonstrates how to take apart a bicycle for packing. Leo gets to work. He grabs the bike and unhooks the front brake. Then he removes the front tire and pedals. He loosens the handlebars, lowers the seat, and with the man's help, he ties the front wheel to the frame and the pedals under the seat. Leo works on so many bikes, he loses count. Finally, only one bicycle remains, Big Red. Leo takes apart his bicycle. He places it in the container. It's one of 462 bikes, spare parts, tools, knapsacks, rucksacks, soccer balls on the way to Africa. Leo feels a lump in his throat as the door closes. The driver hops into the cab and toots the horn, and everyone claps and cheers. Leo waves as the truck pulls away. Goodbye, Big Red. Have a great adventure. At the shipping port, a crane loads the container onto a big freighter. The red bicycle is squeezed against the container door. It's secure for now, but the ocean can be rough, especially in a storm. The ship leaves port and heads south. Containers shift as the wind whips up and the waves get higher. Near South America, it's here, the ship turns and heads straight across the Atlantic Ocean until toward West Africa, hugging the coast until it reaches Ghana. And after 29 days, the red bicycle reaches land. A crane picks up the container and loads it onto a truck. As the truck lumbers north, the container rocks back and forth on the rough road. Big Red bangs against the door each time the truck dips into a pothole and then out again. Finally, the truck stops at the city of Kedugu in Burkina Faso, but Big Red's journey is not over. The bikes are unloaded and reassembled. Their frames glint in the African sun. An organisation that helps widows and orphans will distribute the bikes to families who need them. Bikes save time and effort. Children ride them to school, and older folks use them to transport goods to market. Our Sawadogo is a grandmother who is raising 3 of her grandchildren. She and her granddaughter, Alisetta, are waiting for a bicycle. Alisetta gazes at the bikes. She spots a green bike with knobbly tyres and wide upright handlebars. It looks too big. Her eyes flit from bike to bike until she sees a bright red frame. Perfect. She can see herself breezing to market on the red bike. One by one, the new owners claim the bikes. Alisetta locks her eyes on Big Red, hoping no one else will wheel it away. Finally, her grandmother's name is called. Only a few bikes remain. Big Red leans against the container. Alisetta rushes over to it. This one, she says. In the bush taxi on the way back to their village, Alisetta worries. She's never ridden a bike. Her grandmother pats her hand. It'll be no problem for you, Alisetta. Alisetta leans Big Red against a baobab tree in the centre of her village. A few kids gather, and then more, until it seems as if the whole village is watching. She grips the handlebars tightly. The hand grips feel nice. They're smooth and new. She hitches up a pagny and climbs onto the bike. She keeps one hand on the tree. Big Red wobbles. Alisetta hops off the seat and plants her flip-flops firmly on the ground. Still straddling the bike, she begins to walk. Her friends clap and call out her name. Her friend Samira offers to push her. Alisetta climbs up onto the seat and they're off. Samira jogs along beside Big Red, holding onto its seat, and then she takes her hand away. The bike slows down, wobbles, and Alisetta tumbles off. You need to go faster, Samira says. This time when Samira lets go, Alisetta pedals hard. The bike is better behaved now. Alisetta leaves Samira behind and pedals so fast she's soon past the last house in the village. She's done it. She stops and turns, sailing back into the village and riding circles around the cheering kids. Hour comes to watch. She cheers along with the kids and claps to Alisetta as she sweeps by on the red bike. And over the next few weeks, Hour and Alisetta put Big Red to work. They've got a plot of land where they grow sorghum. It's ready to harvest, but there's one big problem. The birds often get to the sorghum before them. With Big Red, Alisetta can ride to the field early every morning to scare off the birds. Thanks to Big Red, they harvest more sorghum than usual. With more sorghum, the family eats better. Hour can also make a popular drink from sorghum called dolo. Making dolo produces extra yeast and draff, which is good animal feed. Hour trades the draff with her neighbours who have livestock in exchange for more sorghum. Alisetta begins to ride Big Red to village markets. She now has a basket to carry items for sale. She sells the extra yeast, bags she crochets out of plastic, and shea butter that she and Hour make. With the extra money, Hour sends Alisetta's younger brother and sister to school. Over time, Big Red becomes an important part of the family. Alisetta rides to the sorghum field and the market and sometimes even gives her siblings a lift to school. Big Red is well used and well worn. One day, Hour takes a folded paper from her pagdy and hands it to her granddaughter. Inside the paper is some money. Aura explains that she's been saving for another bicycle. With 2 bikes, we can earn even more, she explains. The next day, Alicetta takes a bush taxi to Kadugu. She walks through the streets looking at bikes for sale. She stops at a shop where a mechanic is fitting pedals onto a bright green bike. It's got a wire basket attached to the front, and it looks the right size. She clears her throat. The mechanic looks up and smiles. "Looking for a bike?" he asks. Alicetta nods and points to the bike. "Yes, this one." When Alicetta arrives back in the village with a new bike, she's in for a surprise. A pig has gotten away from its owner and ploughed through her family's courtyard, knocking into Big Red and trampling the spokes. Alicetta knows what will happen now. There's no money to fix the bike, so she'll have to sell its parts one by one. The new green bike will take its place, but Alicetta will miss Big Red. It was her first bike. Alicetta's at the market, arranging her goods, when a little pickup truck parks nearby. A man gets out. He chats with people, eventually stopping in front of Alicetta. His name is Bakari, he says, and he's looking for bikes. He works at a medical clinic that sends health workers on bikes to visit sick people in villages without doctors or nurses. He needs more bikes. Alicetta thinks about Big Red and its broken spokes. She tells Bakari she has a bike, but it needs repairs. She agrees to meet him at her house later. When Bakari arrives, he sees a faded red bike propped up against a shed. He examines every bit of it, the tyres, the wheel and its broken spokes, the frame, the chain, the gears, the seat, the hand grips. He nods. "We can fix it. It's a strong bike. We'll make it into an ambulance for the clinic." Aura and Alicetta tell him the story of how they got Big Red and how important it's been for the family. Alicetta wheels Big Red to the pickup truck, pats the seat and whispers, "Thank you." Bakari takes Big Red and the other bikes to a workshop on the outskirts of Kadugu. He sorts the bikes into 2 groups. Some are strong, but need repairs. The others are at the end of their working lives. Bakari will use parts from them to fix the good bikes. Bakari's eyes fall on the faded red bike. Big Red looks pretty good compared to the other bikes. It's been well taken care of, but needs stronger wheels, a new seat, new brakes and hand grips, and a paint job. He picks up a wrench and gets to work. After a few hours of tinkering, he's done. Big Red looks almost new. Now, Bakari thinks, let's turn you into an ambulance. With a metal hoop and nail, Bakari attaches a trailer to the bike. The trailer has the same tough wheels as the bike. On the trailer is a stretcher, propped up so a person can see out, and a safety belt keeps patients safe during the ride. There's also a canopy to keep off the sun and rain. Big Red is ready for work. The sun is coming up, and Haridata winds a colourful scarf around her head, slips on her flip-flops, and walks across the courtyard. Her mother is already pounding grain. Haridata smiles, waves, and calls, "See you later." The young woman is off to the health clinic where she volunteers. Haridata strides down the road. She wants to be on time. Today she'll make her first visit to a village on the new bicycle ambulance. A fine red dust coats everything. When she arrives at the clinic, she pauses to brush off the dust from the red bicycle ambulance parked out front. Inside the clinic, an older man is loading bandages and medicines into a medical bag. He shakes Haridata's hand. "How are you? How's your family? What's new?" Haridata loads the medical bag onto the back of the bike. She adds some bottled water and a blanket. As she pedals to the village, she often sees other bicycles pass by. One is carrying a load of something so big Haridata can barely see the rider. Another has 3 children clinging to it, and one has a little goat tucked into a basket on the back. After riding for half an hour, Haridata arrives at the village. She hears the chatter of voices before she sees a crowd of people. She jumps off the bike, leans it against a tree, and wriggles her way through the crowd. A young boy lies on the ground, his head on a woman's lap. His eyes are scrunched shut, and he's very quiet. The woman speaks softly to the boy, patting his head. No one wants to move him. He's in pain, and his leg lies at an awkward angle. It's broken. Haridata speaks up. She explains who she is and points to the bike ambulance. 2 men help her remove the portable stretcher. Haridata grabs a water bottle and some pills for pain. The men ease the boy onto the stretcher. He cries out as they lift him. She explains that she'll take him to the clinic where a doctor can fix his leg. He must be brave, she tells him. Off they go on Big Red. At the clinic, a doctor sets the boy's leg. Haridata pats Big Red's seat as she leaves. "Good work," she says quietly. Haridata's first day with the bicycle ambulance becomes a legend in the villages around the clinic. Everyone knows who she is when she rolls into town. The kids call the bike Le Grand Rouge. Bakari visits regularly to check on the bike. He brings parts and keeps Le Grand Rouge working well. He's pleased the bike has a name and has done so much good. And over the next few years, Haridata visits many villages, sometimes a 3-hour ride away. The bike allows her to deliver medication and bring sick people to the hospital. One day, it's time for Haridata to move on. She's gained valuable experience with the medical clinic and Le Grand Rouge. She finds a job in a town with a bigger clinic. At the end of her last ride, she puts the bike away, pats the seat, and whispers, "Thank you." She stares at the red bike for a minute, wondering where its journey began. Far away for sure, she thinks. But there's no hint that a girl paddled along dirt roads, carting goods to market, or that a boy once whipped around a small North American town on the red bicycle. But they remember Big Red, and Haridata will do too. There we go. So the information here is for charities that support in North America to recycle bikes, but this is a real scheme. So you can see here how these bikes are being used to carry different things. So this is Lake Tanganyika, Tanzania, and Uganda. And these bikes have been taken from America, taken over to different parts of Africa, and they've been reused. It's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool way to do things. So we've been thinking about our global goals, and this one is about industry, innovation, and infrastructure. Okay, so industry is to do with making stuff. Innovation is inventing things and new ideas and new ways of doing things. And that's exactly what happened to Big Red, because Big Red had that trailer put on it. And he went from being a bike that somebody could ride around town to being a bike that was used as an ambulance. And infrastructure. And that's to do with the way that things are connected together. So in this case, we got infrastructure, and the infrastructure was the shipping that took the bike from the town in America to Burkina Faso. The infrastructure was also the fact that the bike was taken out to the different villages, and the fact that that bike was used instead of somebody going in an ambulance like we know it, or going in a car. So there we go. We've got an example. It's not quite a true story in the way that Wednesdays was a true story, but this actually happens on a day-to-day basis. There are charities who do this sort of work to reuse those bikes, which is a pretty cool thing to think that that's happening. I quite like that story because it's showing that even when something is worn out, there's still use for it, there's still hope for it. I hope you have had a lovely week this week. I hope you have enjoyed the Global Goals work that you've been doing. Our last part of our assembly, I'm going to say goodbye at this point, and our last part of our assembly is from our junior safety officers who have been doing some hard work and will share some information with you. So well done to those guys for the work that they've been doing as well. So I will see you next week when we've got the second part of our Global Goals fortnight. Have a lovely weekend. Bye-bye.
Welcome to our Road Safety Assembly. We are your junior safety officers. These are the important messages that we would like to share with you. Be bright, be seen. Now we're in October, you'll start noticing it gets darker outside earlier than it did over summer. This means some journeys we used to take in the daylight are now starting to be in the dark. If we're out walking, cycling or scooting, drivers may not be able to see us as easily, especially if we're in dark clothes like our uniforms. We have some ideas on how you can make sure you're seen. You could bling your bag or even your coat by adding bright colours, stripes of reflective material or reflective key rings. Bling your bike by adding things like bright reflective stickers or extra lights. Also, make sure your helmet is bright and can be seen. Handmade high-vis. Try customizing a high-vis jacket to make it something you'd be happy to wear as you made it.
Halloween and Bonfire Night. Not long until Halloween and Bonfire Night. Many of us are getting dressed and going to see fireworks on bonfire displays. Sparklers can be great fun, but did you know a sparkler can reach up to 2,000 degrees Celsius? That's 20 times hotter than boiling water. Used sparklers are still hot even after they've gone out. Here's how to keep yourself safe. You could carry a torch or use the light on your mobile phone. Never go back to a lit firework. Use a carrot to hold your sparkler and always wear gloves. Always stand well back from the fire.
Remember, be safe, be seen, be secure. Thank you for watching.